Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Simone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for stopping by. If you are new here, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about ways in which I can see my growth over the years. And these are basically simple changes that I've done either actively or passively, but definitely changes that I recognize within myself, and just a signal, a sign that I've been growing over the years. I know it's weird to think about, but it's very important to be able to measure our growth and development. So some of the things that I've noticed that have changed over the years. Let me just start with the fact that I, Simone, was a problem child. I'd enroll with the wrong crew. I was just mischievous. I was just always getting into trouble at home. Again, I'm a homebody. I've never been a party girl. I've never been one to be out there in the streets, as some people like to say it. I've always been a homebody, and one thing I do think about sometimes is that I hope I don't get to a point in my life where I have a midlife crisis and I feel like I need to go back and seize the things that I didn't get in the past, like partying and all the fun things. But I digress. So let's get back on track. I'm gonna start off by saying that I was a difficult child. I was mischievous. I was always getting in trouble, always getting into arguments and fights with my brother. And the saddest part, as I went through my years and became a teenager, I was always arguing with my mom. And it breaks my heart to think about it now, but it's a stage that I went through. I used to always, we were just always not on the same page. Like, we just weren't able to break bread, as some may say it. And so I definitely noticed that I got to a point where whenever I would argue with my mom, I would feel so bad. Like, I would literally feel a sense of grief. I got to a point where it wasn't worth it for me anymore. Like, the sadness that I would feel, the regret that I would feel, about hurting her, just about not being able to control my emotions. It just absolutely tore me up. It broke my heart. And I got to a point where I was like, even if I feel deep down inside that my point is valid and I am right, I'm not gonna argue with her. She always has the final say, and she, for the most part, gives wonderful, amazing advice, and I always take her advice. But whenever there are times where I feel like, okay, we're not on the same page, I just let it be. Like, it no longer serves me to argue with her. It just caused me so much pain. So that's one of the areas where I definitely realize, recognize, and appreciate the fact that I've grown out of the stage where I would just like fly off the top of my mouth, just say whatever. I just always had to have the last say, and I'm no longer in that phase of my life. And Lord knows I'm happy to no longer be that person. I also used to be very disorganized. I remember, like, when we were in Jamaica, my brother and I, we used to get ready to go to school because my mom was a single parent. So a lot of the times it was just my brother and I. She was always out working, trying to provide for both of us. So I clearly recall this memory of one morning we were getting ready to go to school and I couldn't find my socks. And back then I only had one pair of socks to go to school. So I couldn't find my socks. I couldn't find one foot of my socks. So what I did is I hid my brother's socks. I don't know if he knows this, but I hid his socks so that he wouldn't leave me. He wouldn't leave me and go to school, and I'd be left behind and have to walk to school by myself. So I hid his pair of socks. And those are the things that I used to do. I used to be very mischievous and very disorganized. I also didn't do well in school. I want to say for the longest time, I was just like not in tune to school. Like I said, I never hung with a big posse. I never had a lot of friends, but I wasn't distracted by the world. I don't know what it was, but I just never tuned into being a scholar, being a great student until much later in life. As a matter of fact, I feel like when I really got into the groove and really saw the value in education was when I moved to America. I was about 13 or 14 years old. I was in high school. I actually went into the 10th grade. So between 10th grade and 12th grade, I excelled. We had a class of 200 and I believe 19 students in our graduating class, and I ranked number 6. And it wasn't top 5, it wasn't top 2, but I'm very proud to say that I ranked top 6. And then I fell off when I went to college. I found myself in a situationship for almost 3 years. And when you think about that, 3 years, we go to college for 4 years, right? We get our undergrad in typically 4 years. So a majority of my time was basically spent on just being checked out of school and not doing my best and not getting good grades. Yeah, I made it through college, but again, I didn't do my best. By far, I did not do my best. So when I went back to get my master's degree, I went to work. I went to task, and I did so incredibly well. I had a great GPA. I just realized that this is my chance to get it right, and I did. So I also, as I got older, valued education more and really put the hard work in. I also made better decisions, and better decisions also led to me having to apologize less frequently. And especially when I feel like when I think about apologizing, I think about very close relationships, and I think about very close relationship with my family. And because I wasn't flying off my mouth anymore, I was really thinking about people's feelings, thinking about ways to respond without, that hurt, without the anger. I also didn't have to apologize all the time. In addition to apologizing less, I started to care less about what people think about me. And it really takes experiences in life for you to see that some things really don't matter. Like, I no longer have the resources to expend on the things that people think about me. So as I've gotten older, I really think less of what people think about me, and I also value others' opinions less. It's a double-edged sword. You really have to source good advice, good relationships, and things like that. But when it comes to the naysayers and the people that try to bring you down, I really value their words much less than I did when I was younger. Another thing that really showed me my growth was that I started to recognize my mortality. I mean, it's always in the back of your head. You know that once there's life, there's death. It's just they're hand in hand. We live to die. But I really started to recognize that I'm not here forever. I won't be here forever. And so I value my time. I really value my time, because once it's spent, you can't get it back. So that's one of the ways that I've really seen my growth, is that I really think about, even if I'm gonna watch a movie, and I was never really a big fan of TV and electronics in general, but when I sit down to watch a movie and I see if it's an hour and a half or 2 hours, I really think about, is this movie gonna enrich my life? And if I feel like the answer to that is no, then I'm not watching it. I'm not giving away my 2 hours to not walk away feeling like I learned something. Even if it's not relating to my job, even if it's not relating to self-development, I need to have a moment of enlightenment. Whatever shape or form that comes into, I really look to get something out of giving up my time. There's a trade-off here, and I have to make sure that it's going to add value to my life. I also recognize the mortality of my family members. Like, I've had family members pass away. It's devastating. I remember this quote from Lauren London, and I guess around the time when Nipsey passed away, she said, we really should love the people that God loaned us, because one day he's gonna want them back. And that is so true. Like, we're not here forever. The people that you love are not here forever. So love them now, give them flowers now, create experiences with them now, because we never know what tomorrow holds. And as a matter of fact, I've come to a place where I love spending time with my parents. I love when they come over to visit. Whenever they come over to visit, I treat them like royalty. I cook ackee and saltfish, I cook kalaloo, I cook all the Jamaican meals that they love, because they are stuck in their ways when it comes to their palate. They're not into exploring. My mom especially, if it's her birthday and we're taking her out to a restaurant, we have to go to a Jamaican restaurant, because she hates nothing more than to go to a restaurant, however fancy it may be. She hates having to sit down to eat food that she does not enjoy. So whenever they come over, I try to pamper them, I try to cater to them, I try to make them feel comfortable so that they love being around us. They love coming back. It's my way of giving back. It's my small way of giving back, to show them that I love them, I care for them, and if they need me, I'm always here. We often joke around like I've become my mom's personal assistant. I feel like I'm doing tasks for her on the daily. There's no week that ever goes by where I'm not doing something for my mom. I'm her personal assistant. It comes with its challenges, because I am a full-time worker, I am a mother, I am a wife. There's so many things on my plate, but I can't say no to her. I help her in any way that I can. Another thing that shows me my growth is when I started my new career. If you haven't watched my video on how I changed my career, you should absolutely do so. It's very informative. But when I changed my career, I was in this mindset that I had to go, because I had to start at the bottom, I had to start at entry level, and I already decided that I was willing to climb my way up. But because of that, I was always in go mode. I was always looking for the next opportunity to advance my career, to expand my skill set. But as time has gone by, I've recognized that I may not necessarily want to get to the very, very top. I look around me, I see my colleagues, I work very closely with senior leadership, and I see their workload. I see that it's hard to have a work-life balance. And I'm not sure that I want to give up my work-life balance. I have 2 little boys. They're not at a point in their life where they don't need their mom. And I don't want to come home every evening just so exhausted that I have nothing to give to them. And so I still want to climb the career ladder. I still want to advance, but I am trying to have a steady pace, because I don't want to get to a point where I feel like work is all I live to do. Another thing that has changed, that has shown me my growth, is that my style, my home decor style has changed. When I was younger, and I'm not that old, guys, I'm not that old, but I want to say when I was in my mid-20s, my style was glam. Like, everything had to be shiny, glittery, silver or gold, sparkly, all of that jazz. And as I've grown older, I've become a minimalist at heart. I know in my physical space, there is so much more to do. There is such a far journey to go in order to get to my ideal state of minimalism. But in my mind, I'm a minimalist. I don't even like to see pictures on the wall. It's crazy. Like, I like bare walls. I like plain, simple. I don't like the embellishments. And here's the kicker. I love to see these things in other people's homes. But for me, I just want plain and simple. If I were a flavor, I'd say I'm vanilla. Just good tasting, great for the palate, but nothing fancy, just plain and simple. And so I have a lot of work to do. I really want to get to a point where I've gotten rid of everything in excess. Like, I don't want more clothes than I need. I don't want more furniture than I need. I don't want more things. I am just like lightening my load and getting rid of everything in excess. Another thing that has highlighted my growth is that I've let go of a lot of things that used to be a source of embarrassment and shame. You know, we all go through things in life. We all have experiences that are unpleasant. At one point in my life, I used to hold on to these things and these experiences and feel shame, feel embarrassment. But now I can talk about all my life experiences and have absolutely no shame, have absolutely no embarrassment. I just feel like we go through life. There are things that are in our control, but there are so many other things that are outside of our control. I've also started to trust my intuition. I feel like I've built up walls, and again, I've built up walls because of the experiences that I've had in life. But one thing I do is I always trust my intuition. If I go around certain people or I'm in a situation and I feel like something is not right here, before I even ask myself, why do I feel this way? I remove myself. That's the first thing. I can go back and think, like, why didn't I enjoy that experience? Why didn't I like being around those people? I can go back and do those things. But before I get to a point where something happens that is just like, wow, I wish I could have controlled that, or I wish I didn't walk into that, I remove myself. I trust my intuition. I trust me before I trust anyone else. Well, second to God. But I trust my intuition wholeheartedly. Another way that I have grown and have seen my growth is I am constantly in a state of becoming. And I've held on to this phrase after reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's a great book. But I'm constantly in a state of becoming. And what that means is that you're always rediscovering yourself. You're always trying to pursue happiness. You're always trying to seek the best you that there is. So always rediscover yourself. Always, always, always chase your happiness. Don't wait for it to come to you. Go for it. Always try to pursue self-development and professional development. Just always, always, always be in a state of becoming so that you don't become lax, so that you don't become stagnant, so that you are always being a better version of yourself. Another way that I've seen my growth is that I've actually narrowed down my circle. I have a handful of friends, and my friends are the type of friends that I don't have to talk to every day. I talk to them sometimes sporadically, depending on what's going on in the world or what's going on in our individual lives. We may speak to each other more frequently in certain periods of our lives. And then there are times when we go maybe a month, usually not 2 months, but maybe a month without talking to each other. But whenever we do, we get right back to things. Nothing changes. We understand that I have a life, they have a life, we have families, we have different priorities, and we don't hold grudges. I feel like back in the day, when you think of friendships, you think about talking to that person every day, seeing that person once a week, always hanging out, always going to events together, like you're tied to the hip. I don't have friends like that. And I don't want to have friends like that because I do not have the bandwidth. I do not have the energy to maintain friendships like that. I would prefer to have the select few friends that I have that understands my situation and I understand theirs. And whenever we talk, we appreciate the moments that we spend together. And whenever we don't, we pray for each other. We hope that we are doing well in our individual lives. And we check in every now and then to make sure that, things are going great, but we don't hold grudges. Another way that I've recognized my growth is that I've started to treat people as individuals. And one example of that are my kids. They are cut from the same cloth. They have the same mommy and the same daddy. But when I tell you, they are opposites. They are opposites. And I remember as a child, I always used to feel like my mom loved my brother more than she loved me. And that was because I was mischievous and I was always being scolded. I was always being corrected. And I felt like I wasn't loved. One day I was actually watching The Real, and that was back in the day when Tamar was a part of The Real. And I remember her telling a story that her mom treats her kids. I think she has like 4 or 5 siblings, but she specifically said that her mom treats her kids individually because they require a different level of attention, they require a different amount of love, basically a different parenting style because they are individuals. And so I've tailored my parenting styles to my kids. I've tailored how I treat individuals, whether they are colleagues, whether they are my family members. I tailor the way that I treat individuals depending on our closeness, depending on the nature of our relationship, and depending on their need and my ability to be of service to them. Another way that I've recognized my growth is that I'm so grateful. Like, I practice gratitude. I practice gratitude very frequently. I recognize my blessings. I know I don't have every single thing that I want, but I absolutely have every single thing that I need. And for that, I am thankful. I am very grateful. I'm grateful for all the blessings that I have in my life, and I recognize those each and every day. Another way that I've recognized my growth is that I have a greater value for money. I definitely value my dollar. They say once you carry your own water, you know the value of every drop. Before I buy something, I will literally sit and think about how long it took me to work that $20, that $40, that $50, that $60, that $100. I think about how long it took me to acquire that money before I just give it away. And if it's not something that I absolutely need, I try not to buy it because money isn't an endless resource. There comes a time when that can to dry up. I value my money. And the last major way that I've recognized my growth is that I started to listen to my body. Since I got to a mature state of mind, I've just been aiming to be a perfectionist, to always get things right, to try to minimize my mistakes. But one thing that I've done over the years is that I listen to my body. And whenever I'm tired, I'm tired. I am no longer pushing myself to the limit. I am listening to my body. I am resting when I need rest. And there are times when I need to clean up. I need to do laundry. I need to do this and I need to do that. But if I'm tired, guess what? I'm resting. And then there's the flip side of that, because there is that perfectionist that lives deep inside of me. Whenever I have a lazy day, I literally find myself cleaning at 2 o'clock in the morning, doing laundry at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I get to a point where I can't sleep comfortably knowing that I have a million things to do. And so I find myself doing things at odd hours at night just because I feel like I had an entire lazy day and now I'm re-energized. I have the energy to do what I need to do. So whatever time that may be, I'm gonna get it done. But I definitely love the fact that I recognize my limitations. I listen to my body. Like, I no longer push myself to the limit. So thank you so much. I know it's a long one. I'm really trying to not make them too long because there are a host of issues whenever the videos are too long. They take longer to edit, they take longer to upload. And I really want to be a resource to you, but I also know that time is of the essence and I don't want to take too much time from you. But I do want to give you value. I always want to leave you with something to think about whenever you watch my videos. So if you made it to the end, I thank you so much. And if you are new here, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Drop a comment down below. Let me know some of the things that are a reflection of your growth. Some of the things that you recognize, hey, I used to do that, but I no longer do. I've grown in this way, or I've grown in that way. Share them down below. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
We should be closer than friends. If you OPN, engage and use on my agenda. Request my chariot to get ya.